Hey, what's going on, you guys? Um, Hello. It's been a long, long time since I've been up on here, but I got some free time, so I decided, hey, why not get up on here, jump up on here, right? This live is not nothing specific base. It's not a main point. It's basically just to, go over all the current topics that are, going on right now and some of the stories that I've did in a little bit of Q&A, you know. So, I want to say thank you in advance and welcome to my channel. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to get into it, but I want to start off with some of the, things that I've been doing in terms of, the videos that I've done and things. I've been getting some pretty good positive feedback. So that's what we're going to start. We're going to start with the news. What's going on? Apparently, Bashir Gray, he's found himself in so much trouble right now. And it is really, in my opinion, just taking a toll on him. Like, how do you go from, playing Hakeem and from Empire to, you constantly getting in and out of trouble. Your name is coming up in all these sorts of things. Apparently, you got into an altercation with a guy because he was trying to get you to pay your hotel bill. And what the report is saying is that he lunged at a man. So, I mean, I just think that it's really bad given that it's known that he has mental illness. And my question would definitely be, why isn't anyone in his family or his friends or former co-stars helping him with to manage, making sure he's taking his medication, going to whatever, services is available towards him and things like that. Now, if you remember, it was a thing back in 2022, I do believe he had gotten to a DV situation with his quote unquote, I'm not sure, wife, alleged wife or estranged wife or a person that he was calling his wife or whatever. And it was basically, him just, a dispute that went wrong. It went too far, whatever the case was. So, hey, it is what it is. Another thing that I wanted to talk about as well would be the R. Kelly situation. It seems that R. Kelly is finding himself into a lot of things that's going on, in terms of him being in jail. You would think he's in jail, he's not going to get in no trouble, right? But apparently, it's wrong for everybody because this man is getting into all sorts of things, all sorts of things. So, uh, you know, he went to jail. He was fighting for his release, and then there was reports about him, basically, trying to get pardoned and things like that. He wanted to get pardoned by Donald Trump, but like I said in one of my other videos, that's like a double-edged sword. Now, in my opinion, Donald Trump doesn't have a problem with pardoning people, but there are terms and conditions that you have to go through to, essentially get pardoned. And frankly, a lot of butt kissing. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to kiss the ring in order to get a pardon from him. If you I mean, it depends. He might go off of your money. He might go off the fact that, he has this narcissistic tendency for people to praise him even when he's doing a not even a subpar job. But nevertheless, R. Kelly has seen and gone through some things. Recently, it came out that his legal team was talking about filing a motion, which they did, for his release. because it was an ongoing conspiracy with the prison, federal prison, and apparently the AB. Now, if you don't know what the AB is, it's short acronym for the Aryan Brotherhood. And apparently someone from the Aryan Brotherhood was paid to essentially delete R. Kelly and get rid of him. So that's one thing, you know. Um shoot, we don't know. You know, I'm only stating what's in the article, you know, at this point. But in addition to that, he was recently hospitalized and put into the hospital, which he at that time he found out that he had blood clogs in his legs. And they literally, from what the article was saying, by gunpoint made this man leave the hospital and come back. you know um he is in, it's a serious, his legal team feels it's a serious need for them to investigate this more. They did put in a motion, like I said, for his immediate release because of what was going on. Even got a sworn affidavit from the alleged person that was chosen to delete him or try to delete him. And like I said in my video, one thing is unclear with me is that the Aryan Brotherhood, they do not take lightly to betrayal of any kind, regardless of who it is, whether it's someone within the ranks or just a person that's not outside of their ranks. They have made it a point over the years to make an example of anyone that will, you know, disrupt the natural flow of things. I'll say it like that, but their natural flow of things, not the natural flow, but their natural flow of things. So I don't know how it's going to fare for the guy that actually wrote the affidavit, if that is a valid thing. All of this stuff is just basic allegedly, 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 allegedly. Okay. So that's one thing. Another thing is, given what R. Kelly has been convicted for and all of the things that have came out, there's been docu-series about surviving R. Kelly, even though, in my opinion, I feel like some of the victims shouldn't be considered victims at some point because, at first when you start off, yeah, you're a victim. But if you become in a place where you're complicit with whatever's going on, that victim rolls right out the door, for me. And hey, that's just my opinion. I don't know what's going on, but that's basically the thing about it, And another thing about the R. Kelly thing, which I particularly too much didn't care about, it was that the parents that so-called cared about their kids are not being pressed a little bit more. I still find it very strange that these people were paid off essentially and they kept quiet for so long until it became a more, you know, outward publicly known thing. And then, they want to scream bloody murder and outrage. I always had an issue with that. Shame on the people that offered up their children, because that's what I essentially, in my opinion, that's what I feel. They essentially turned a blind eye while their child was being whatever, to, so basically that was it. But for R. Kelly, I wanted to know, do people feel bad about what he's going through? I essentially think that it's like karma just coming back to, you know, bite him in the butt. You know, it's karma that's coming back. It's rearing its ugly head. It's going to go and it's going to do what karma do. hmm That's what I think. But hey, who knows, right? Another thing that, you know, was in the news and things of that nature, this whole thing with Diddy, uh, it's a lot of twists and turns. I've been watching this one content creator. I think her name is Stephanie. Um, I will list her name and her channel in the description. I can't think of it right offhand right now, but I mean, she has done a tremendous job in terms of Stephanie King, I believe. I think that's her name, but she has done a tremendous job in terms of, just going through the transcripts, and she actually purchased the transcripts, which you can also check that out on her Patreon. But like I said, if I remember, I definitely will link her page and all her information down in the um, description box. The thing with Diddy is people surprised and shocked. No, it's been rumors about this man for years, just like it's been rumors about Kelly for years. I mean, it's not that people didn't know, you know. And apparently in the court, the way it's going, he paid a good piece of coin to make sure people didn't know what was going on with him. He paid a good piece of coin to make sure that people, the general public, the people outside of, Hollywood, Hollyweird, and the music industry, so on and so forth, didn't really know what was going on. Whole time this man was depraved, just like anybody else. I mean, hey, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Um, you know, another thing that people are not paying attention to is the same thing that I called out and so many other people called out when R. Kelly was going through his time, or whatever the case was, is that how many people that were complicit, how many people that were willing to essentially help this man, continue the wrath of destruction and pain and blackmail that has persisted into what we're now finding out through court. I do know that the quote unquote alleged drug mule, the gentleman that was arrested when they first raided his Miami home, when they found him at the airport or whatever the case was, arrested him. He has allegedly now turned state evidence, so that's going to be a big blow to him. My prediction is that, yeah, it's going to be public outrage, just like R. Kelly. But at the end of the day, people, one thing about people in the general public, they tend to forget. Of course, you'll have them diehard people that will swear that every person that testified was money hungry and they knew what was going on, and they liked it at some point. Like, yeah, I mean, but I know in my personal life, I've known some people that were in some similar situations, not as far as like the ST and all of that, the traffic thing and stuff like that. But no, I've known people that have been in abusive relationships that refuse to leave, out of them loving that person, or just a combination of them loving them and fear. Some cases it turned into Stockholm syndrome and things of that nature. So, there's that, but definitely he's a deplorable person. He should be locked in jail, and anybody like him, at this point, I'm just waiting for them to just sentence him and find out who's up next, because there's definitely going to be someone more. And my prediction is, the more and more they delve into Hollyweird and the music industry and all the other industries, music and sports and all of that stuff, it's going to get weirder and weirder and weirder. So At this point, I'm just ready for them to get, the defense to get through their case and find out what the initial verdict is going to be for Sean Diddy Combs, because he deserves to be in jail, and the people that helped him deserve to be in jail as well. Uh, at the very least, co-conspirators. But again, that's my opinion. What else is going on? What else has went on? Smokey Robinson, he was essentially accused and is being sued currently, to my knowledge, about some things that he has done. And I always say that you people that, we look up to these people, admire these people. These people are so musically gifted. These people are musical geniuses, just to find out that they're human, just like any one of us. And they're some of the most depraved people that you would never expect to be that way. But I'm not saying that they always was that way, but at a certain point, when you have the money and the privilege and the power and the prestige, and your name is known worldwide and things like that, it tends to be crazy. But to Jaguar Wright's credit, a lot of people thought she was crazy. A lot of people thought she was crazy. A lot of people thought she was hating or she was bitter. And coming to find out, almost everything that she said has come to pass in terms of uh, Hollywood, the music industry, certain individuals, and it's just crazy. I'm actually glad that she's getting that vindication, some vindication and stuff like that, even though I don't uh, particularly agree with all of her, viewpoints and talking points, for the main part, as far as like Hollywood and entertainers, athletes, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I totally, put them out. You know what I'm saying? But other things that she's talked about, I don't agree with. But I do respect the fact that she is in some way bringing this stuff to the light, regardless if people believe her or not. And I am glad that she's getting some vindication, because everything that she said about the individuals I spoke about is coming to pass. The rabbit hole goes deep. You just got to know when to turn back. I'll say that about Jaguar Wright. I like that, she says what she means, and she can back it up, and everything she said is accurate to some degree. So, another thing that I wanted to talk about as well, besides all these celebrities that are getting exposed, you know, and things of that nature, which I'm happy that they are getting exposed, because it shatters the thin line between, these are some of the greatest, most best entertainers, athletes, etc., in the world, and they're finally getting, what's coming to them. Not in a, diabolical, I hope this and that on them. No, not that for me. More so is that the public deserves to know that the people that they admire are some of the most depraved people in the world. Some disgusting people in the world. That's definitely apparent by, R. Kelly and Diddy. You know, especially what he did to Cassie. And I'm not just talking about that video that was shown on CNN. Based off her testimony and what I've heard, he is a disgusting human being. Um, you know, point blank, period. But another thing that I wanted to talk about, because there's been a lot of content creators, on TikTok, Instagram, all over social media, X. Well, not really X, because we all know that X is low key. Uh, if you're a bigot or a racist, that's where you go at. You know, um, so I really don't go on X. Actually, I was banned from X because I kept posting things about the Congo and how the people in Congo were suffering and things like that. So I got banned without no explanation. I went through the process to try to find out what I said or did that, you know, which would cause my channel or my page to be banned or anything like that. And, you know, I never got a response back. So I'm assuming that it was because I kept posting about Congo. I kept posting about, things like social justice and things of that nature. And, it is what it is. Does it have an impact on me personally? No. Do I really care? No, I don't. So, I mean, it is what it is. Given everything that's happened with, Elon and this current administration, zero fluffs are given to me. I really don't care either way. But this administration, everything that they've done, the way that they're systematically trying to uh destroy the Constitution and things of that nature. Like I said, I've been seeing a lot of content creators go on and on and on about participation and why the African American slash black, uh if you choose to call yourself that, uh, good for you, uh population is not taking a stand and standing with them. And another thing, I just did a video today which essentially talks about a study that Harvard did in terms of why Republicans, white Republicans, tend to, overlook or just you give the administration a pass for the events that happened on January 6th, in 2022, I believe, um, versus every time everybody else riots and stuff, oh, they're just showing their celebration for the team winning, or, it's, you know, something toned down. Even the January 6th rise, it was all this outrage. But then when the current president got back into office, it's, they're heroes and they're giving $5 million to the lady that was essentially deleted because she literally tried to break into the Capitol to harm Congress people, congressmen and women. And they're saying that she was brave. I mean, yeah, technically that is true, she was brave to do that. It just didn't turn out the way that she expected it to do I have any sympathy for her? I mean, I don't know, this may sound a little bit cold and callous, but no, I don't. If you're going to break law, which is essentially what they were doing that day, the riot, the mutiny, the insurrection, whatever you want to call it, that's exactly what it was. They broke law, and I agree with Congressman Raskin when he said that it's crazy that people are getting uh money for storming the Capitol. All of these people are being pardoned and given money and stuff like that. Some of these people are getting rearrested or deleted because they won't give up their criminal ways. Some of these people have been found to possess CP, and things of that nature, and all sorts of, disgusting, depraved things. But these are the people that are being pardoned. These are the people that are getting money, um, and things like that. I mean, it's just terrible when you think about it. As far as the immigration, as a black person myself, I stand with my brothers and sisters, my brown brothers and sisters. But the thing about that is that, we're not going to sit here and act as if, you know, there's not the same thing that the administration is doing and Caucasians have been doing, not all Caucasians. And when I say this, I want to be very clear. Let me make this disclaimer. I am not talking about every white person. I am not talking about every Hispanic person. I am not talking about every Colombian. I am not talking about every other person of color that is a marginalized minority. I am not. I am talking specifically about the people that made it bad on everybody else because of their proximity to whiteness. Okay, let me be clear when I say this because people will be quick to be like, "Oh, you're a racist again." No, that's not true. I have friends that have different ethnic backgrounds and religions and things like that. I know. What I'm saying is that the article that I did a video on is basically Harvard University did a study, and they were essentially talking about how white Republicans are willing to, accept what happened on January 6th during the insurrection because they have a sense of their systemic racism is not being felt or is not as potent as it once was. Um, some people would say they feel like they're starting to be the bottom of the food chain. But the thing about it, to be honest with you, and I say this in the most simplest way, they were never a top of the food chain. The whitewashing, the systemic racism, the all the things that they try to do to hurt indigenous, aboriginal uh, people, and it's crazy, and their tactics are not working anymore. Those their tactics are not holding the weight that it once did, and they know this. On top of that, the birth rate, especially in Europe and in the United States, white women are not having children. Okay, that comes from a long line of them being taught and raised up to be a perfect match for a suitor so that they could be the housewives, barefoot and pregnant, take care of the home and the children and things of that nature. But they soon found out over very many, 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 many years that it's not conducive to what they want to do. They put their freedoms and their you know going to school and things of that nature on the back burner just to be a housewife, barefoot and pregnant, and a lot of times to very abusive men, very territorial men, and men that up and left them. Even though the stereotype is that applies to black people, black fathers, we know that not to be true. There are tons of black and brown fathers that are amazing caretakers to their children, amazing husbands, and things of that nature. But for obvious reasons, they tend to elevate the negative parts of it. Um, just like the thing with immigration, and they said it's all these unalivers and rapists and things of that nature that are coming over to this country, but that's not true. That's not true. Everything that this administration has said as a talking point is basically an outright lie, in my opinion. These are hardworking people. But the thing, it becomes a problem because over in their country, like I said, I did a video where I spoke about three people that I had personal experience with. One from Honduras, one was from Puerto Rico, and one was from Africa. And these people, despite them being told about quote unquote African Americans and how we are and things like that, they seen for themselves with their own experiences that that wasn't the case. And when you come from one place and come over here to the United States and you see how things really are, some people say, hey, I was told a lie. I was told that, uh black people were lazy and we steal and all of this and deadbeat dads and all of this, which is basically just a lie. Basically, it was the other way around. Because if you want to be definitely in the census and find out how many Caucasian white counterparts that were, centrally abandoning their families, so, and all the other things, let's not get into the stealing aspect of it, but yeah, that's a real thing, and it continues to happen to this day, but nobody seems to talk about it. But it's a general stereotype for people of color, black people, African American people, whatever you want to call yourself or whatever, right? So this administration has done a good job at dividing and conquering. It has done a good job at putting out the narrative that these people are some of the terriblest people in the world, which they're not. They're very hardworking people, but I'm not going to sit here and act like some of those people look down on black and brown people too, because they do. But then it's all this thing of like, oh, why are you not helping? Look, listen, for decades, they, from every demographic of people that, even some of our own people, we've been told that, get your own people in line, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and things like that. And it's kind of funny, just before all this stuff kicked off with the protests and stuff like that and the mass deportations, some of these people were on TikTok because they thought it was funny to talk about black fatigue, even though that phrase was ripped off from a book, uh an author that spoke about black fatigue, and black fatigue was not talking about being tired of people quote unquote being ghetto and things like that. It was talking about the fatigue of black people always sacrificing, always giving, always fighting for themselves and everybody else. Mm, that's what black fatigue is talking about. It's not talking about all the stereotypes that everybody, now you got people on TikTok talking about, oh, da 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 da, you're mad because you feel like no one's out there protesting with you. I'm not going out there to be a human shield for no goddamn body, okay? I got children. Yes, we have protested. Yes, we have spoken out about it. Yes, we fought for you like no other on November 5th. And this is what they fail to realize, and it becomes more so of a victim thing. You're playing victim because where were you on November 5th? I know what the 90% of women and the 80% of black men were doing and who they were voting for. And I know what everybody else was doing and voted for. So why is it our problem? Because you're coming out now, and this is the most craziest thing to me. They come out and see videos of people talking about, oh yeah, I voted for JRFK because he wanted to make America healthy again. The guy with the worm in his brain, the guy that used to run around and allegedly he had killed a bear and dumped it in Central Park. What? That JRFK, I know his peoples that's passed on. They is rolling in their goddamn graves right now. I tell you that because if I was a descendant of the Kennedys, I would be rolling in my goddamn grave right now. What it like? Yeah, like really? Okay. To be fair, I agree with some of what JFK is doing in terms of him getting all the poisonous stuff out the food, the dyes and things like that. I'm even good with them, banning certain stuff. That's not healthy for people. But that's where that ends at. Everything else, he's a flipping moron. And this is my opinion. He's a moron. He's an idiot. You know, he's not qualified to be there. In fact, 99% of the current administration is not qualified to be there, even up at the top. Not qualified to be there. None of them are qualified to be there. I mean, and then going back to this situation where it's this so much outrage because black people want to rest and they want to take care of themselves and they want to love on themselves and self-love themselves and hold themselves up and stuff, and they get mad when they see black people congregate with each other doing line band with them fans at and all of this stuff. But you're mad, but yet you won't check your cousin or your family members that hate the fact that hate black people because of their proximity to white. Because all this time, and this is just being honest, all this time you thought, well, they thought, not you, they thought that, oh, I'm safe because I'm more white passing than black people. We can't turn our color off, baby. I've been brown since the day that I came out. Okay? I've been a brown skinned girl. I can't turn that off. I wouldn't want to turn it off. I wouldn't want to lighten it or whiten it or make it more appealing to anybody. It is what it is. That's what I am. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much it. My father is brown skin. My mother is brown skin. My siblings are brown skin, dark skin. You know what I'm saying? Like, no apology for that. But we don't have that pleasure or that privilege to be passing, but all these other people that, passing, and it was okay as long as black people were the ones that were getting shot in the street, and it's okay if all these black people were getting discriminated against, and Sandra Bland and all the other people that were unalived because simply being black, simply minding their business. It was okay then. Oh, it was okay. Now you expect people to put their lives on the line and go out there in the front line and sacrifice their bodies. So somebody had to come tell their family members, hey, your brother, sister, uncle, cousin, mother went to a protest and they didn't make it back. And you're okay with that. As it has been stated time and time again, if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at the people that voted against your interests, because a lot of black people did not vote against the interests of themselves or anyone else. All this DEI stuff and people on TikTok, they're some of the most craziest people on TikTok, right? Because they'll sit there and say, hey, hey, DEI. But if you look at the actual the list of DEI, the first one on the top of DEI is white women. Oh my God. And to find out that black people / African American people are at the bottom of the list. DEI for the veterans. So the veterans won't get discriminated against. So the uh people with disabilities won't be discriminated against, so white women wouldn't be discriminated against. Women in general won't be discriminated against. And it's crazy to me how people feel that throwing DEI up in somebody's face is a flex. It's not, you know? So my advice would be, as harsh as it may sound, or people may not want to hear it, is do the same thing that you have told all of us black folk slash African Americans slash Aboriginals to do. Get your own house in order. Start calling out those people, those Colombians that's sitting up there in Miami in Florida that won't even break a sweat to help you. Like I said in my video, of course they feel bad about what's going on, but at the same time, they're not willing to sacrifice themselves they're not willing to sacrifice themselves to save you. Why are you not mad at them? The Asian folk already said they wasn't coming. Okay. A lot of other people said they wasn't coming, but you're most mad at black people for not coming. I mean, some people have shown up in some of the videos that we've seen. Like this cop, he literally tossed this black woman to the crowd, and if it wasn't for all these allies that was around, he probably would have assaulted that woman even further. Who wants to go out there and deal with that? Who wants to go out there and do that? When it's time for black people to stand up this way, I mean, we worried about them snatching the 13th, 14th Amendment. If you want to be real about it, because we're not immigrants. No matter if you don't accept that or not, black and brown people are not immigrants. Never have been immigrants. We're written in the Constitution. We're written in the 13th, 14th Amendment, which they're actively trying to destroy. This is why the current president is talking about birthright citizenship, and he's still fighting in courts to get birthright citizenship taken away. Who you think they talking about? And imagine all of this started is because a bunch of oppressors that came over on ships left their homes in Europe because they were being oppressed by a king. Now we have a Nero. If you don't know who Nero was, Nero watched Rome burn. Now we have Nero, a manifestation of Nero that will do anything to watch America burn. Whether if you choose to believe the allegation or assumption that he is a double agent for Russia or whatever, he's literally watching America burn. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about me. Think of the richest, snobbiest uh people in the world. They don't care unless you got money like them. They don't care unless you got privilege and power like them. They don't care. So why is all this misdirected outrage? Now, I do applaud the people that have gone out and protested and things like that, because the people that are out there, that's exactly who needed to be out there, because they are the ones that voted for it. They voted for it. We didn't vote for that. I'm not saying all of them voted for it, but a good number of them did. But then again, you have to, it's speculation about that being rigged as well. There is a news clip from Oppressor where the current president was talking about, in so many words, they rigged the election. It's not like it's just that they're basically telling you what they're doing. um and all of this stuff can be found. This is the stuff that came out of the horse's mouth, as they say, the horse's mouth. It came straight directly from the source, and people still want to find someone to blame. And you cannot blame black people. We're not superheroes. You're not going to call me a nigger in your language. And you're not going to call me all these despicable things in your language and then expect me to turn around and help you. That's not how this works. And it will never work that way. And I think the majority of black people feel that way. African American people, Aboriginal people, whatever you want to call yourself. We're not. Not going to happen. You know? And that's just the truth of it. Now, I will stand with allies if they are, in fact, really allies. But I mean, to be honest with you, we got to put them through their paces too. Because I found out one person that I've known for over a decade, I considered her an ally. She really wasn't an ally to me or anyone else. And this is in my personal life. Story time. I had a friend, was friends with her for 15 years or more. Been through ups, been through downs, been through separations, didn't talk to this chick for years on end, only to every time come back. And, she loved black men. She loved Black Peen. As far as her standing up and going out there and protesting, no. And make it worse, she has a biracial son. And she still wouldn't sacrifice herself and where she's at in her life to protest for the same people she claimed to love. By her son being biracial, I suggested that he go to the Blacks and Wax Museum, and we could actually make a trip of it and go to the museum and actually learn more about his black side, his African side, his islander side, his Caribbean side. And she never lifted a finger to actually do so. She would rather go to a state national park than actually go to a museum to educate her biracial son about his other half. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, that was my story time as far as that. Some of the allies ain't really allies. Some of the people that claim they're for the cause is not really for the cause. They're very much like, members of the current administration. They're cosplayers. They want all the benefits, but not the struggles. They want to pretend that, yeah, we're all one and things like that when everything is cool. But then as soon as things get bad, they want to tuck tail and run. Like they are outing currently on TikTok this content creator that always used to go and promote Mexican restaurants, Latino restaurants and things like that. Like he would go and recommend and stuff like that. But when all of this stuff started breaking out in terms of him actually going out there or speaking up or speaking out about the mass deportations that's going on, he got quiet as a church mouse. And rightfully so, people on TikTok are starting to call him out because that's just wrong. I'm not going to act, my personal experience in my life. No one can ever say that I pretended to stand up for other people. I have stood up for people in LGBTQA, all of the letters, people. I have stood up for people with disabilities. I have stood up for men and women that, went through DV. I have stood up for, people that were Latino, people that were actually, I lost a job that I was working. This woman was Mexican. And let me tell you, story time. Let's get into a story time about that, because this was like this had to be like, this is over 10 years ago. This story is so old, but I feel that it's appropriate for me to talk about it. I was working at this job, okay? And it was predominantly Mexican people, right? People from Mexico. It was a woman from the Caribbean. And then it was, the other mix was, a sprinkle of white and, black people, right? So we're working this job. As soon as we got the job, they would sit there, they would talk about us in their own language. They would call us Negroes and all of this stuff. And, the thing about it is that don't talk smack and don't think that people can't understand at least some of your language. Okay. So an incident happened where I can't really tell you where the incident began because I was in another part of the building at the time. But when I came to where everything was going on, a co-worker of mine, he's a black man, he had an issue with this Mexican girl. Okay. And she literally called this man a nigger in her language. I understood what she was saying, but she didn't know that I knew what she was saying. And I basically told her in English, I said, if you call him that again, I'm going to beat your. Okay. First of all, the shock that came over her face when she understood that I understood what she was talking about was you could not, that was priceless. Priceless. And I didn't do it in a way, in a form of intimidation. I did it to say, hey, I know what you said. You think you're the only one that can understand what you said? You know? Matter of fact, the same person that I said that to a couple of months later, no, a year later, I wind up getting fired because, and I've told this story many a times, I wind up getting fired because the same girl that I had an issue with, that I told her I was going to whoop her. Okay. I wound up getting fired because of her. And this is how it happened. We were working. She, just like any other immigrant, is in the process of, transitioning from what's known to them to be able to be more productive in American society. So she would go to school to learn English and things of that nature, which is always a good thing, no matter what your background is. If you're going into a different country, the one thing you can do is respect the culture and actually learn the culture. That's the least that you can do. Anybody off top. I'm a firm believer in that. But back to the story. She was in a place where they gave like orders and stuff like that. And she was talking to this couple. The woman was Caucasian, white, and her husband was black. So this is an interracial couple. This is what made it even worse, right? So she's talking to them, she's taking their order down and stuff like that. And the Caucasian lady thought it was appropriate to start berating this girl, the same one I had the incident with, berating her because she spoke broken English. I'll say that she spoke broken English. I mean, you could understand it, but you really couldn't understand it. But if you didn't have patience and time, it would like literally frustrate you. I'm not even going to cap about that. It would literally frustrate the hell out of you. Long story short, They said all these demeaning things to this girl, and she told them to come inside so they could place their order. The couple came inside, and the Caucasian lady continued to say to this girl, the same girl that I had an issue with, you need to go back to your country. I don't know what it was in me that day that made me spaz out. Like, I literally clocked out on her. Mentally, I clocked out. I ain't even going to care. I clocked out on that woman. And I wind up cussing her out and cussing her husband out. Oh, you can't talk to me like that. I'm the customer. I said, blip. I cussed her out so bad to defend the same Mexican girl that called my other black coworker a nigger. I cussed her out so bad. I said, you don't have the right to talk to her like that. She's a human being. Like, so when I literally say that I have life experiences where I have stood up people that I have championed for other truth. I have stood up for people. I have there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I wound up losing my job because the GM was there that day, and I called her white, and I called her ignorant white BR. And I told her husband, I said, it's crazy how they allowing your Caucasian wife to talk about a person of color, and you are a person of color. What did you forget where you come from? I not only got into the wife, but I got into his too and cussed him out too. And the GM was sitting there, and she's a white lady, and uh, needless to say, I lost my job. But did I care about losing my job? No, I didn't. At that point, I didn't care. Didn't care. Didn't matter. I was actually happy. Now, fast forward to pick up my last check. And the Caribbean lady, she's from Kingston, Jamaica. Shout out to Kingston, Jamaica. Okay. She don't play. All right. So yeah. Hung around Jamaican people and stuff like that. And that very proud, deserve their respect, get their respect off top. If you never hung around Jamaican people, you don't understand what I'm talking about. And I went to go pick up my check after I got fired. This is definitely after I got fired, because I essentially told all of them people to kiss my black arse. Okay. And I'm not going to bite my tongue over a racist, bigot, ignorant, white bitch. So I lost my job, right? I was fired. I knew I was fired when I left. I was happy. I didn't care, right? Because I knew that I did the right thing in standing up to her and her husband, even though I had an issue with the Mexican girl. I keep wanting to say her name, but I'm not going to say her name. Um, but I did it to not only protect her and to protect anybody else that has that problem. At least she's learning. She's actually learning, taking classes to speak a little bit of speak English better and things like that. She was going through the process of everything, becoming legal and all of this stuff, right? So, you know, I respected that about her, even though we had a differences a minor difference. I respect the fact that she was actually taking the time to actually go and do that, to actually, become a productive member of society. She wasn't on welfare. She wasn't none of that. She was actually going through the steps, going through the process to get her citizenship, learn better English, be a productive a member of society, all of that. And I got fired for her because I didn't think what she was saying was right. I mean, a lot of people called, like, when it happened, I was talking to someone and they was like, the moment you called that white woman ignorant, you lost your job. I said, I know. I still don't feel bad about it. I still don't feel bad about it. I don't. And I never, even though I never seen them again, the Caribbean lady, when I went to go pick up my check, she was like, what you did was right. But you knew they was trying to fire you anyway, because I've always been the type of person, I'm not going to allow you to talk to me any kind of way. I can tell you countless of stories of when I was working for this man. He was from Pakistan. And, over in their country, women are not, women that talk back and question what they say, they don't like that. Okay? But that's another story time. I'll tell y'all later on another live or in the video or whatever about that, right? I've always been outspoken. I've always stood up for myself, stood up for people, did what was right. I never discriminated or knowingly discriminated against another person because of their color, where they come from, their religion, none of that. I've never did that because my mother taught me to never do that. You understand? Like, this is something that's taught, just like hate is taught. I was taught never to judge a person because of where they come from, but try to understand where they come from. That's how the knowledge continues. That's how you get to be more informed about other places of the world. Even if you never travel to those types of places, you know how to handle those situations with people. You know how to be respectful and kind and learn their traditions and their cultures so that you can better coexist and work with each other. I worked with tons of people from all around the world, from Europe to Asia to Africa. I've worked with those types of people. And to be honest with you, it was some of the best, most fulfilling experiences of my life so far in terms of meeting people. But when people say black people don't care, well, I don't call myself black. I'm not black. Okay. I'm not black. Okay. You know, um, when people say that African American, black people, aboriginals are not, we don't care. You don't know every person, because I just sat here and told you a story about how I stood up for a person. Didn't even really know this person. We didn't hang out with each other after that or nothing like that. We didn't hang out. Like, when I saw her and she saw me, we was at work and that was it. When she clocked out and when I clocked out, it wasn't no meetup like, hey, let's be friends. It wasn't none of that. It was just me simply doing what was right. You understand? So the thing about that is that on some level, no matter what race of people you belong to, we have people in our black community that look down upon us, just like they have people in their community that look down upon them because of colorism. Colorism is a very big thing. Over here, it's not really considered colorism. It's considered light skin versus dark skin, but it's still a form of colorism. Actually, I got into a beef a whole drawn out beef for about damn near a year with content creators on here because they couldn't understand what colorism was. The only thing they could understand is that I was talking about somebody that they didn't like and I was defending them. But they could not in their brain, they couldn't compute the fact that I was talking about a bigger issue, which was colorism. But that's neither here nor there. I don't even think that person is still on here, but if they is, so what? If they not, so what? At the end of the day, I lose no sleep. But yeah, I mean, people tend to look at things as the glass is half empty. Don't look at the thing as half empty. Just because I'm not out there protesting, or just because I am speaking up about it, I am speaking out about it, I'm sharing some of my experiences that I've had in my life. And that's one of the best ways that I know how to be able to give people the sense and the idea that everybody is not against them. Do I believe in illegal people being here and just being here? No, I don't. But the thing about it now is that this current administration doesn't care whether you here legally or not. And that's what a lot of people are missing and not talking about. A lot of people are not talking about the fact that this administration canceled over 5,000 people's legal statuses. Canceled. So now they are illegal immigrants. Excuse me. Nobody's really. I mean, people are talking about it, but it needs to be talked about more. How this administration is literally stripping these people that went through the process, that actually did what they needed to do to essentially be here for nothing. And then you got the TikTok that went viral. Do people care about people in Minnesota? No, we don't give a damn about people in Minnesota. And let me tell you why. Because a lot of those farmers down in Minnesota, when Trump was talking about, oh, you're taking away the black jobs, ain't no amount of money you can pay me to get nobody filled. And that's what they thought down there. They thought that once they started deporting all these people and stuff like that, that black people was going to, yeah, I'll work on your field. I'll work in your field. No, we're not. No, we're not. That other me, no, we're not. We're not. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Hell to the no. We're not going to do it. I guess you'll go bankrupt. But then again, they found a solution for that because unbeknownst to these farmers that's losing business and they're losing their employees and their staff, once they go bankrupt and they have to sell their farm, guess who is going to give it to? And this is just a theory. This is not quote unquote fact, but this is a theory. Guess who he's going to give it to? All of those immigrants that he let come over here, the Afrikaners. That are really not Afrikaners. They're really Dutch people that fled to Africa and colonized it, much like a lot of the world did. They're not Afrikaners. They're just visitors that went. They're visitors from over that's Dutch and from Europe somewhere, and they came to Africa and colonized stuff. And the reason why they was getting away with it, because there were people that were in place that was willing to sell out their own people. As long as it benefited them, they were fine. And now it's different because we have great presidents like Ibrahim Traoré that's there and a whole bunch of other people that's there, and they kicked those people out. I wonder why. Because they were colonizing and benefiting off the land and not giving back the resources to the majority of it so they can continue to lie, perpetuate the lie that was going around for years and decades that Africa is poor and it's never been poor. It's never been poor. The only reason why it was like that is because of them. Is that why France is mad? Is that why the United States is mad? Is that why every other country that had their hand and their foot on the necks of the African people are mad because they're getting kicked out? It may be. But I applaud Africa for doing what they doing. They should have been did it. I guess we ain't gonna see no more starve and feed the children commercials with Africans starving no more, right? Mm, I guess not. I hope that they thrive. I hope that every African nation, but I hope they thrive. I do. Because they deserve it. They have been the guinea pigs of the world for too long. And they deserve a fucking break. Okay? Um, but back to immigration. Don't turn the anger inward to the people that you expect to be there. Because a lot of people, we have families. We are mothers and fathers and uncles and aunts and grandparents. We are people just like, not saying that when Black Lives Matter happened, which was a total, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. Um, when with George Floyd and Freddie Gray, I know down here because I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Okay, all day. When the stuff down here happened to Freddie Gray, the world actually believed that it was teenagers actually beating up police and throwing rocks and starting stuff. No, it was a concerted effort by the police to do that, to make it look bad, as if Baltimore doesn't get a bad rap as it is. But if you don't live here, you wouldn't know that. You would just think that, oh, it's just a whole bunch of roughnecks, YNs running around, destroying and all of this, and you don't even know why. It's easier to say that we're the problem than actually looking for the problem. I'll say that much. But yeah, when all that stuff happened with Freddie Gray and George Floyd and stuff like that, and people were out there protesting. Now I ain't going cap though. We had a lot of different people. Anytime the witches come out, anytime the atheists come out, the Church of Satan. That again, the Church of Satan came out to protest with us. The witches came out to protest with us. Every demographic of people. I'm not talking about race. I'm just talking about affiliation right now. Came out to protest with us. It was a beautiful thing. And that was the first time, my knowledge in history, that we actually had that many different sects of people come out. And again, I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about people that believe, atheists, people from Church of Satan, the witches, the dark witches, the gray witches, the white witches, the Amish came out. The you know what I'm saying? We had all these people that came out to protest, and it was a beautiful thing. Our civil rights movement, well, it's not a civil rights movement. If I mean, depends on how you look at it, but our issues are different from their issues. And this is by no means to separate or say, hey, just because our issues were different from your issues makes our issues more apparent. It doesn't. But when you're walking down the street or just smoking the cigarettes or going to the store to buy a pack of Skittles in a ice in a Arizona, when you're just simply working or just walking around or jogging while black, and people mess with you anyway, it is different. It is different because I have yet to hear about any of the people that's going through this immigration thing. I have yet to hear about them just simply going to work and getting a bullet put in them because they at work, or picking up their kids from school and getting a bullet put in them, or driving down the road coming from a funeral and almost being arrested and pew-pewed and deleted because they were black. It's very much a difference. And I say that with no bias. I'm not a biased person. I was taught not to be biased. But I do understand the plight of people that are immigrants that are going through this. But I also understand how systemic racism works. The majority of those people that's out there screaming that you should be out here with us could care less if we lived or died. A lot of them have walked with us, have fought with us, and all of that. I will not take that away from anybody. But the majority of them, the ones on TikTok talking about this and that, and then turn around and call us all the slurs that everybody else calls us and stuff like that. Like, they literally had a Mexican woman that was from CNN that was out there saying that black people were out there looting in LA. But when you looked at the videos of those people, they wasn't black people. If you looked from the neck down, they were not black people. They wasn't. They were Afro something, but it wasn't black. Okay? It wasn't African American, because a lot of black people ain't out there protesting in the streets. So that fell flat on his face. And to the people that's here, that's actually listening, I appreciate you listening. Actually, I was just going to do a blank line. I'm not a big content creator like that. I haven't went live in what, almost a year or 2 years and stuff like that. And I was just going to get up here just to post this, just for people to come past and watch it later. So if you're here, I thank you for listening. You know, I don't want it to be a thing where, it's looking like I'm blaming them for their own situation. But really, at some point, you got to call out how some of them actually spit in our faces. Like, some of them, even at work in job situations, will literally, there's a video going around about this African man. He owns a construction company, and he's from Africa. And he himself said that his Mexican employees and stuff like that, they would come to them to try to get black people fired because they wanted their family members to take the place of the black people that they got fired. And that's crazy. But nobody's talking about that. There's literally a video of a African employee who owns his own demolition company, his own construction company, saying that he understands why black people are not out there protesting. And he is an example of it, because people are actually coming to him trying to get other employees fired so they can bring their friend. When all those places that got raided and stuff like that, the majority of them was ran by people that wasn't black. They don't be trying to give nobody no jobs that ain't like them or stuff like that. This is the conversation that needs to be had. Not the, oh, I'm going to point my finger at you and say, oh, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. No, there is documented proof. Is people talking up and speaking out about this stuff. But a lot of these people that screaming foul that black people are not out there is not taking that into account. You can go look this stuff up yourself. Anything that I say, you can look this stuff up yourself. Besides my personal experiences that I've had. I mean, I got witnesses to that though that can definitely get on here and be like, yeah, she did that. But other than that, everything else I'm talking about, you can look this up yourself. I'm not on here to try to sway anybody. And that's never been my thing. From the first time that I ever went live and tried to, talk about people, regardless of what the topic was or the situation was, I've never tried to sway people. I've never tried to make people believe something that wasn't true. You can go look this up for yourself. I would rather you figure it out yourself to see whether it's valid or not. Honestly, I'm not out here to sway no people. I'm not looking for followers. I'm looking for thinkers. I'm looking for people that is totally fine with using their own mind and making up their own decisions as people. I can't tell you what to do. You can't tell me what to do. So why am I going to sit here and try to make you believe something that you can literally go and Google? You know? But my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that is an immigrant. I cannot begin to understand the amount of stress that you've gone through. I've seen countless of videos of this one girl. She voted for Trump. She voted for this administration. She voted for this. But her father, sadly, is the martyr of her decision to vote for this administration. And I'll tell you why. Even though she voted for Trump, she has a terminally ill father who has less than 6 months to live. This man just recently got deported, and she tried to get him to be released so that he can, his last remaining days, he could spend it in the company of loved ones and surrounded by loved ones, and they denied her. And she got on TikTok and was crying and sniffing and snotting and talking about, oh, my dad, and it breaks my heart. It honestly breaks my heart for this girl. But at the same time, Shorty, you voted for this. You voted for this. How are you going to vote for somebody and the main candidate is talking about deporting and getting illegals out of here? Who did you think that he was talking about? The only reason why they didn't snatch you up because apparently, allegedly, you're married to a white man. You're married, so you're technically a U.S. citizen. But your dad wasn't. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's sad. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible, and it's heartbreaking. And my thoughts and prayers go out to our father. I wish that in his last remaining days that he would have been surrounded by people that loved him. People that cared about him. His family. But she voted for this. I don't feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for him. I do. Uh, so many stories like that. You can't believe that it's so many stories like that of people, just going through these types of things. It's heartbreaking. But again, some of those people voted for this. Even before when we first found out that uh, the dictator in chief was running again, black people were sounding the alarm. Hey, 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 don't do this. This is not right. we're going to tell you what they're going to do. I mean, literally, they had people on there breaking down Project 2025 like it was a book read. And it basically was, but they were breaking it down chapter by chapter, section by section of what the plan was. And they did not listen. Before the election even happened, when we found out who the candidates was going to be, when we found out that it was going to be Kamala and the dictator in chief, we put it out there. Hey, this is not right. Y'all need to listen. You can't claim ignorance when it's right in your face. And that's just the fact of the matter. You can't. You can't claim ignorance. You can't claim that you didn't know that the leopard was going to eat your face. When you see the leopard getting closer and closer and closer to you, so close that they could reach out and touch you, but you're shocked when the leopard jumps on you and starts to eat your face. It's sad. It truly is sad. Um, this has been a productive live. Once again, anybody that watches this video after I finish my live, again, I do appreciate you coming through, watching this video. I appreciate you just being here and listening to what I have to say. Um, I hope things get better. I hope that this administration will be stopped so that everybody can have a sense of peace. Um, I'm just hoping for the best, just like everybody else. And I will continue to stand on my square for everything that I believe in. Point blank, period. But don't forget to comment in the comment section, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you want me to come back so we can do a Q&A or talk about it, I'll definitely be up to that. Just leave it in the comment section. I definitely will want to do that. So, but I think I've been on here a little too long. Well, not too long, but I've been on here long enough. Say it like that. I want to thank you again, and look out for my next video. I have a couple of videos up that I just posted, so please go check them out. If you feel free to donate a cup of coffee or, just say thank you, I would greatly appreciate it. Yeah. And with that, you guys, I'm about to be out, but always remember, be good to yourself first.